The mountain valley was supposed to be a quick mission. A small unit of soldiers had been sent deep into enemy territory to gather intelligence and destroy a hidden supply route. The operation was planned perfectly: move fast, stay silent, and return before sunrise. But war rarely follows a plan. Sergeant Daniel Hayes had spent 12 years in the military, and he had seen enough battles to know that the most dangerous moments were not always when bullets were flying. Sometimes, the most dangerous moments came after. When the shooting stopped. When the wounded were left behind. When survival depended on one person refusing to walk away. That person was Corporal Ethan Cole, the team's combat medic. Ethan was not the strongest soldier in the unit. He was not the fastest. He was not the one carrying the biggest weapon. His weapon was a medical bag. Inside it were bandages, medicine, emergency supplies, and the tools he used to keep his brothers alive. And on this mission, that bag would become the only thing standing between several soldiers and death. The first explosion came at 2:17 in the morning. The patrol was moving through Ravens Pass, a narrow valley surrounded by towering cliffs. The mountains blocked radio signals, and the darkness made every shadow look like a threat. Then the ground shook. A hidden explosive detonated beneath the lead vehicle. The blast echoed through the valley like thunder. The soldiers immediately dropped to the ground, searching for cover. "Contact!" someone shouted. Gunfire erupted from the cliffs above. The enemy had been waiting. The unit was trapped. Sergeant Hayes tried to organize a retreat, but another explosion struck the mountainside. The impact broke apart the rocky cliffs above them. A massive wall of stone and dirt began collapsing into the valley. The soldiers had seconds to move. "Fall back! Now!" Hayes ordered. But several men were already down. Private Marcus Reed had been thrown against a rock and badly injured. Another soldier, Alex Turner, was trapped beneath twisted metal from the destroyed vehicle. The others began moving towards safety, but Ethan stopped. He looked back. He saw the wounded soldiers. He saw the collapsing mountain. And he knew the decision he had to make. "Medic, move!" Hayes yelled. Ethan shook his head. "I'm not leaving them." The sergeant stared at him. "Cole, that mountain is coming down." Ethan tightened the straps of his medical bag. "Then I better be fast." The first soldier Ethan reached was Marcus. The young soldier was barely conscious. "My leg." "I can't feel my leg," Marcus whispered. Ethan ignored the falling rocks around them. He focused. Years of training took over. He treated the injury, stopped the bleeding, and pulled Marcus away from the danger zone. But the valley continued to collapse. The ground beneath them cracked. Dust filled the air. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Ethan dragged Marcus behind a large boulder and returned. One soldier saved. 4 more remained. The second rescue was worse. Alex Turner was trapped under the remains of the vehicle. The metal had crushed his arm, and every movement caused him pain. "Leave me," Alex said. Ethan looked at him. "Not happening. You can't move this." Ethan looked at the vehicle. Then he looked at the mountain falling apart around them. He grabbed his equipment. "I don't need to move the whole thing." He only needed to move enough. Using every bit of strength he had, Ethan lifted the damaged metal while pulling Alex free. The moment they escaped, the vehicle disappeared beneath tons of rock. The valley swallowed everything behind them. Hours passed. The storm above the mountains grew stronger. The rescue helicopter could not reach them. The radio was almost dead. The remaining soldiers were scattered. Ethan moved through the destruction alone. Every step was dangerous. Every sound could mean another collapse. But he kept searching. Because he knew something others didn't. A wounded soldier does not lose hope when they hear footsteps. They lose hope when the footsteps stop. Near sunrise, Ethan found Sergeant Hayes. The commander had been injured while helping the others escape. His shoulder was badly damaged, and he could barely walk. "You came back," Hayes said. Ethan smiled slightly. "You knew I would." The sergeant looked around at the destruction. "You saved them all." Ethan shook his head. "No, sir." He looked at his medical bag. "They saved themselves. I just reminded them they weren't alone." The final rescue was the hardest. A young soldier named Lucas Bennett was trapped on the other side of the valley. The only path to him was across a dangerous section where the mountain was still collapsing. The others told Ethan it was impossible. The rocks were falling too quickly. The distance was too far. But Ethan started walking. Not because he wasn't afraid. Because he was. Fear was there with every step. But courage was moving anyway. He crossed the unstable ground, reached Lucas, and found him barely conscious. Lucas opened his eyes. "Did you really come back for me?" Ethan answered. "I told you already. Nobody gets left behind." The journey back was almost impossible. Ethan carried Lucas while guiding the injured soldiers through the valley. The group moved slowly. The mountain continued to fall. But they kept moving. One step. One breath. One more moment alive. Then, through the dust, they saw the rescue helicopter. The sound of the blades grew louder. The soldiers were finally going home. Weeks later, the story spread throughout the military. People called Ethan Cole a hero. They talked about his bravery. They talked about how he walked into a collapsing valley when everyone else was trying to escape. But Ethan never saw himself as a hero. When asked why he risked his life, he gave a simple answer. "Because they were my brothers." And for the soldiers who survived Raven's Pass, they would never forget the medic who walked into the impossible and brought them home.